All right, everyone. Today we will be completing the first lesson in Booklet 10. Booklet 10 is working with integers, and the first lesson is combining integers with addition. So here we're going to continue our work with algebra, but we're not going to be dealing with fractions as much as we have been in the past couple units. Now, before we start this note, there is one concept that I want you to write, and you can just put this at the top of your page, and that's how we're going to handle multiplying our signs. So what do I mean by that? Well, there's going to be a lot of multiplication in this unit, and sometimes we'll be multiplying positive numbers by positive numbers. Sometimes we'll be multiplying negative numbers by negative numbers or positive numbers by negative numbers. Now, what you need to remember is that when you have two positive numbers, let me just set myself up here. When you have two positive numbers, it's going to result in a positive number. When you have two negative numbers, that's also going to result in a positive number. So when you have two of the same signs and you combine them, you're left with a positive. Now, when you have a positive and a negative, when the signs are different, it's going to result in a negative number, whether it's positive negative or negative positive. Now, the way that I like to think of it is kind of like a slot machine, right? When you're playing the slot machines, what you want is for all of the symbols to match. So if both of the symbols are positive or both of the symbols are negative, they match, and that's a good thing. So it results in a positive. If your two symbols don't match, that's a bad thing. So it results in a negative. Now, why is this important? Well, as you can see here, we are adding two numbers. We have positive 5 plus negative 3. Now, that's a lot of pluses and minuses. So the first thing that you might want to do is you might want to simplify these two signs right here. That positive and that negative that are right next to each other, that's a kind of multiplication that's happening. And we can combine those, and because they're different signs, that's going to become a negative. So if I wanted to, I could rewrite this statement as positive 5 minus 3. Now, this is just 5 minus 3. We know the answer is 2, but I'm really going to break down how we can calculate that for when the questions get harder. So here is what we're going to do. We have a positive 5. And in order to represent that, I'm going to write 5 plus symbols. We have a negative 3. And in order to represent that, I'm going to write 3 negative symbols. Now, the next step is to group up a single positive with a single negative, because those are going to cancel each other out. And what we're left with is positive 2. Right, we're left with 2 positive symbols, so that's going to be the answer. And right now, that's just a really complicated way of saying 5 minus 3 is 2. But this strategy is helpful when we get into more complex answers. Let's take a look at this next example. So this is negative 3 plus positive 4. Remember, our rules from above, 2 positives make a positive, right? They're matching, and that's a good thing. So that is going to become a positive. So I can rewrite this statement as negative 6 plus 4. Now, don't make the mistake of saying this answer is 2, because you need to be careful with your positives and your negatives, right? We have a negative 6. So I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 negative symbols. And we also have a positive 4. So I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4 positive symbols. Now we group them up, we cancel them out, and what we're left with is negative 2. So the answer is negative 2. Okay, so take some time, try these last two examples, and make sure that your answers match mine. In this first example, we have two positives again, and a positive make a positive. So I'm going to rewrite this as positive 1 plus 2. Now, we don't actually need this positive behind the 1. If there's nothing behind the 1, we assume that it's a positive number. So we have a positive 1. So I'm just going to write 1 plus sign. And we have a positive 2. So I'm going to write 2 plus signs. Now there's nothing to cancel out here, so don't group them together. The answer is simply that we have 3 plus signs, so the answer is 3, right? Again, a really complicated way of just saying 1 plus 2 is 3, but I promise you we're practicing this for good reason. In this last example, we have two positives again. That makes a positive. So our statement is negative 7 plus 6. Now, negative 7 plus 6. Let's start with the negative 7. So I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 negative symbols. And then the positive 6, I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positive symbols. Group them together because these are all going to cancel out. And we're left with a single negative. So the answer is going to be negative 1. Okay, so if you're able to do this math in your head, that's great, but sometimes it can get pretty tricky. And this strategy where you draw out all of the positives and negatives can be quite handy. So take some time, complete the worksheet, get some extra practice, and as usual, let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.